Hello, everyone, and welcome to the My Healthy Home Summit. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Caroline Blazovsky. I'm a national healthy home expert and an environmental residential consultant with over 24 years of experience. This summit is designed to educate you about the process of creating a healthy home, to learn how our homes may affect our health and wellness, and the benefits associated with living and working in healthier spaces. We've compiled the most decorated speakers in this arena to help you on your journey. Today, we're joined by Christine Cimabue, who will be discussing healthy home construction and tips on how to work with your contractor and get them on board to building or renovating a healthy home. Welcome, Christine Cimabue. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this topic.
Oh, me too. And let's just talk a little bit about your background. As a leading home construction expert, can you start by giving us a quick synopsis of your background and how you developed a passion for healthier homes?
Absolutely. I have been in the shoes of a lot of the people listening. About, like 12 years ago, I purchased my very first property, and it was going to be a rental property. So we were going to go in, renovate it, and get it up to par for a rental. And I had my real estate agent, I had a home inspector, I had everyone on board that I thought I needed. And we go in, we have the inspection, and everything looks great, except for there's this little spot of mold under the kitchen sink. And so my response was, okay, let's have the seller correct that and we'll keep moving forward. Well, turns out the day after we close, we go to demo everything, and the entire kitchen floor to ceiling is covered
Oh,
in mold. So turns out that the seller had painted over this mold, but the thing was there was nothing else visible, nothing else on the backsplash, the tile, cabinetry, nothing. And from that point forward, everyone was just hands off, and here I was left with this home. So I knew I was not the only one feeling this way and going through this situation. So that's when really the spark lit, and my contractor side and my wellness side decided to team up. And we really wanted to make a difference in the way homes were being built and renovated.
and so what kind of background did you have in construction prior to getting involved with healthy homes?
Yeah, so my education and my schooling is in construction. I've worked for numerous contractors. I've been on the building supplier side, really kind of seen the underbelly of residential construction, the good and the bad. And so just after the years of working under other contractors is when I decided it's time to branch off and do it right. And so I'm a licensed contractor here in Southern California and a construction consultant for all across the US, and just really helping people understand how to communicate with their contractor.
It's amazing. Did you always have a passion for construction, or how did you have family that got you into it, or how
Mm,
did you end up getting into it?
interesting. My I guess career path was interior design. That's what I wanted to do. But as soon as I got into it, I realized no, it's not. I'm very black and white. So when it comes to frills on pillows and fabrics and things, it's too much for me. I just want to get in and build it. So my original path was design. So I still get to use them both together as a design
Of
build
course.
contractor, but yeah, much more hands on.
And you have to know about the products, and because it all comes into play, and how we create our spaces is determined by what we bring in as occupants, and then of course what how we build. So let's get like kind of into the weeds right away because there's so much I want to ask you, and I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you're doing this, and I'm so glad you're female on top of it. So I think it's so fascinating. Um, let's talk a little bit about contractors and typical contractors and what it's like to navigate that. Because I think our homeowners want to do what you're telling them and what we're talking about, but they get so frustrated because they've met with a contractor who is not aware of any of this, or they kind of get pushed aside or said the products don't work as well, or you can't do it this way. So what kind of suggestions do you have for homeowners dealing with contractors?
The number one question I get is, how can I find a holistic contractor? And my response is, you can't. they're a needle in the haystack. Like, I mean, there are few, but the really high quality contractors are really doing custom builds, and they're doing about 2 or 3 homes a year. So there's not a ton of really high quality contractors that will do a bathroom renovation or will do a kitchen renovation. They're really doing an entire home. So it's difficult to find, but also homeowners cannot just be hands off anymore. They can't just find their dream contractor and say, "Please design my dream home, and I'll see you, check in a couple of months." You as a homeowner really need to know what you're talking about and what you need to ask for and how to communicate that to your contractor, because their healthy home vision is going to be very different than yours. So, being able to communicate that in writing and reiterating it in writing again and again, and just having a very clear line of communication. So that really starts with the homeowner being educated in what they actually want as the final outcome, what their expectation is.
When we're talking about products, and what we're using in our building products, how is it one, how does the consumer get educated about it in the best way? Because there's so much involved. And then how do you have that conversation with your contractor? Because they're always going to have, I think when contractors come in, they have like a set way that they kind of like to do things. And so you're pushing that envelope. So let's talk about that a
Mhm.
little bit. How do we find the better products to use?
Yeah. So having a higher performing home doesn't always have to mean different products, but what it does often mean is better details. So we could take a window installation, for example. Sometimes they'll just flash under the windowsill, the pan. Well, let's flash the entire opening of the window. We're not always asking them to use something different, but maybe just making it a bit more bulletproof, waterproof, and just really good quality. So, yeah, it comes into play in things like that. Or I also traditionally see when it comes to bathrooms, that contractor who's been doing it for 25 years and has never had a problem, right? They like to say that a lot. Well, they're most often using something like hot mop, which is liquid asphalt for the shower pan. Well, okay, can we use something less toxic? And if they're still insistent on using what's tried and true to them, okay, well, let's leak test the heck out of it. Let's make sure that it is not leaking at all. The name of the game, I guess, overall with healthy construction is slowing down to do leak testing, slowing down for materials to dry out before we're putting drywall up to cover something. So really slowing down and not doing these production builds that are up in 6 months. Like those homes are going to have some issues. So yeah, you got to
Mm.
communicate with your contractor to really, slow down, and the timelines that are coming up ahead. You need to be aware of so that you can schedule third party inspections if that's something that you're going to be doing in your project. So yeah, communication is key.
And also, I guess slowing the homeowner down, because a lot of homeowners want things done super fast. They decide, hey, I'm going to do this remodel project and I want it done by Christmas, right? And they started
Mhm.
in September
Yeah.
and they're like, this has got to be done. And so that also, it's our responsibility as homeowners and the people watching this, that you need to expand out that project. Make sure you're leaving ample time to make these changes and to decide halfway in that a product is good for you or it's not. Let's use bathrooms as an example because I love talking about bathrooms because they're like one of the most problematic places in the house.
Yeah.
They're some of the most toxic places in the house. And then, of course, they have a lot of problems with leakage. So let's talk about what you like for a bathroom, vapor barrier behind the shower. These are things that I think a lot of consumers um, don't focus as much on, but we need to make sure these spaces are not moldy. So when you get into one, you're not breathing in all this mold that forms back behind the walls. We're always going to have some back there. And it's hard to fight it, but we want to make sure that it's as sealed as possible. So, can you talk about what you like for bathrooms and what you see how you can improve them?
Yeah. Yeah. So to go into a bathroom build or renovation, I really like to change the homeowner's mindset of bathrooms are not a space for decoration. If you go to Europe or Mexico and you look at a bathroom, it's tile floor to ceiling. There's a
Clean.
toilet and there's a floating stone sink, and you could get the entire thing wet. There's no piece of glass. It's a wet room. Your bathroom needs to be designed as a wet room where anything and everything can handle moisture. So no more wicker baskets, framed art with cardboard backing. Definitely no wallpaper in a bathroom. To me, that's a big no-no, just simply because over time that glue and adhesive of the wallpaper does start to separate, and it is just a little cavity for humidity to stay stagnant. So we first kind of have to change our mindset around bathrooms and what the intention is, because these are high humid areas and high moisture areas daily. So, first, kind of shifting what that aesthetically will look like. So, yes, we are not living in a sterile environment, as you had mentioned. There's going to be some mold spores in the air, just as they are on the exterior. And so we really want to minimize the standing water that's in our bathrooms long term. So it should be dry after each use. But we also need to have mechanical ventilation. So I know some contractors like to say if you have a window, you don't need an exhaust fan, but no, that's not the case. Your window is not mechanically removing the humidity after that shower. So having a really good quality exhaust fan, and I like to put them on timers. Some of us have children or older parents. Having an exhaust fan on a timer switch that's got 60, 30, 10 minutes, you just push it and it will run its cycle and shut off. So we also don't want to just set it and forget it either, because that can be a fire hazard if we're leaving our exhaust fan on the whole day. So really having materials that will dry out and not just have standing water long term. So really any horizontal surface, maybe a shower bench or the shower niche, these should really be solid surfaces, maybe a piece of stone, or if you're cutting it with your countertop for your vanity, cut a piece of solid piece material so that you don't have these grout joints for water to stand. But waterproofing is number one in a bathroom. And in theory, not that we would do this, but in theory, when you design and waterproof your shower, you should be able to stand in there and take a shower no problem with no tile or anything. That's your waterproofing.
Mm,
Some people get caught up on what tile should I use? Which tile is the best for waterproofing? Your tile is not waterproofing. It's an aesthetic application on top of
decorative,
your
right?
wall. Yeah,
That's
it's
such a great
decorative.
point. Decorative.
Yeah, and so I encourage people to select tile based off of the maintenance that's going to be required, but it's not waterproofing. So sure, if you want to have a penny round shower pan, you could do that. You're going to have a lot of maintenance because you're going to have a lot of grout. But some people prefer to do like a solid shower pan. That's great. You're going to have a lot less maintenance. But the key in a healthy bathroom is the waterproofing behind that shower.
And explain that to some of our audience because we have so many people from varying backgrounds, right? We have contractors here, we have physicians, we have consumers. So when we talk about waterproofing, what does that mean? What does that look like? Give them the
Yeah.
background that they may not have.
Yeah. So traditionally, you will see hot mopping, which is liquid asphalt for your shower pan. And then for the walls, they'll often do something like a cement board with a fluid applied waterproofing membrane, often used red guard. These are kind of the base level materials used for decades for waterproofing a shower. And I always encourage homeowners, to first ask, what does that contractor use? Because we don't want to come in as a homeowner, bulldoze them and say, no, you can't use what you've been using for all these years. I want you to use this new material, because we don't want you to be the guinea pig. If a contractor has not used a particular material on your project before, that's when we really need to kind of have this give and take and come to a compromise and make sure that they know how to properly install it. So with waterproofing, there's fluid applied, which is rolled on, painted on, or there's membrane waterproofing. So if anyone's familiar with Schluter, the orange membrane that's often seen in showers, that's a membrane waterproofing. So this is a good example of, if we go to our contractor and say, I would like you to use Schluter in the entire shower. And they may say, okay, sure. I've never used that before, but let's give it a try.
So,
This is a big red flag, because something like a membrane waterproofing, they need to know how to install that. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. So um, whatever the deciding factor is on the material for the waterproofing, ensure the contractor knows how to install it, and definitely leak test that shower, which would be plugging the drain and filling it up with water and letting it again sit and wait 24 hours to see if
mm,
that water drops.
I love that. I love that. And so, I have so many questions. So we're talking about having a healthy home bathroom. And so we talked ventilation, we talked shower, having some kind of containment for the water. That can also expand out to the bathroom itself. So you want to talk about that? Because you know how you were talking about having this completely waterproofed area.
Right.
You don't have to just do the shower. You can actually do the flooring and around it. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the more tile that you can have on the walls, better, in my opinion, because the moisture is not contained just to our shower. We're going to get out, we're going to have a towel, and then we're going to hang our wet towel on a wall. Is that a drywalled wall? Because drywall is just has a paper face. So if we're going to be continuously hanging a wet, damp towel on our drywall, that's an area that could lead to mold growth. Maybe minor compared to if you have a shower leak, but still we need to be cognizant of where we are doing things like hanging towels and having a toothbrush sitting on a counter that maybe doesn't have a backsplash to it. So in bathrooms, again, going back to the idea of having this be a wet room, it's where you may want to consider not doing traditional drywall and opting for something that's called like an interior glass mat drywall, which is still a gypsum core like drywall, but instead of having paper on the face, it has fiberglass. So you may have seen this dense glass. If you've ever seen a commercial structure go up and they have the yellow boards on the exterior, that's a fiberglass material. They do make, several manufacturers will make an interior glass mat so that it can still be finished like drywall with traditional drywall mud texture and things like that. So that's what I would do if I were creating a healthy bathroom and maybe I didn't want to have floor to ceiling tile on all of the walls. Any walls that I didn't have tile, I would put an interior glass mat, fiberglass drywall, and have it finished like that.
And I think over the years, right, I've been in lots of homes where they've had problems. And a big thing is when the kids get out of the shower. So many
Yeah.
kids have run the tub over. So it's spilled over going down into the downstairs. Or we've seen kids just over time as they get over, get out. They're not, they get out totally wet. They haven't dried themselves off. And so all this
Yeah.
water goes everywhere. So having that area outside of your tub or shower being waterproofed underneath. And I think you can extend the Schluter out, correct? Like you can
Yeah.
put that vapor barrier out further.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you can even go up the walls too, right? You can go up a certain percentage. Would you do that or would you rather do the fiberglass like you were talking about?
So, my ideal scenario in a bathroom, again, going back to the idea that there should be no porous items, no wicker, none of this. One of the most porous items in home construction is MDF. And somewhere along the way, somebody switched our solid wood baseboards for MDF baseboards. So, you're right. If the kids get out of that bathtub with their little wet feet, within a matter of months, those MDF baseboards you'll notice will start to swell, and that's water damage. And that's why I just would stay clear of MDF baseboards, ideally throughout our home, but especially in bathrooms. In bathrooms, I am a big fan of doing a solid stone baseboard. Should be, it should handle moisture. Um, you can have it fabricated. You can use some prefabricated pieces that sometimes they use for transition pieces. But getting stone so that, again, like what you're saying, it kind of goes up the wall, having stone with waterproofing underneath it for all of the
I
bathroom
love that.
floor, and then having maybe like 6 inch pieces of stone going up the wall. That way, again, that bathroom can handle moisture. So I think either, yeah, like what you're saying, having the waterproofing go up the wall or having the stone
Mm,
baseboards with some sort of wall material that can handle moisture.
think of it, right, like a boat. You're in a boat and you want to be floating in that boat. You
Yeah.
brought up a good point. Let's talk about MDF for a little bit. I am not, everyone who knows, who's known me 24 years, I am not a proponent of MDF and a lot of engineered product.
Yeah.
And I've been saying for years, investigating homes, that we go in and we find this stuff does not hold up well with moisture. We've got mold issues. We've got breakdowns of chemical compounds, formaldehydes, resins that break into things that people become sensitive to. What, in your opinion, happened? Why are we pushing these products so much if the contractors like yourself, industry professionals like myself, know that they're not good? They're not holding up. Why are people still utilizing it so much and pushing for it? In your opinion.
Cost.
Yeah.
Cost. That's I think how we've gotten so far away from quality construction is just prices are rising, labor rates are rising, and all of this. And to get a handle to still make renovations and builds somewhat affordable, they're swapping out materials, and solid wood is going to be 3 to 4 times the cost of what MDF is, and the finished appearance once it's painted is the same. So homeowners may not even know if they have
Right.
MDF or solid wood,
Yes.
because again, going back to the communication idea is, the homeowner rightfully is just saying, I would like to have a bathroom and baseboard and bathtub and shower. This is what I would like for you to do it. And then the contractor says, all right, no problem. Here's your bid, but they're not being clear in that bid of what every material is. They're just maybe simply putting bathroom renovation, tub, vanity, toilet,
Exactly.
paint, and the homeowner says this is
Exactly.
great, but being educated and knowing what to ask for is really going to make a difference in the outcome.
That's exactly it. That, there's the details aren't there, and they don't know the difference. They just say we're putting up some type of trim. You don't know if your trim's pine, if it's real wood, if it's cedar. I mean, so these are the questions that people have to ask. I love that. It's fantastic. When you're dealing with a contractor and you're doing an estimate, how detailed do you want them to get? So kind of talk about, what do you want to
Mm.
see? What would your perfect estimate look like?
Uh, your estimate is your contract, because if you go back, right, and I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having everything clear in the beginning, whether it's your contract or line item breakdown, because once you're mid construction, that contractor almost has control over the situation. Because do you want your project finished? Okay, well, here's a change order. And a change order is a term for a change to the original contract, whether it's timeline, cost, material. There is a change, and there's usually a fee associated with that or a higher cost. And you could have your home, completely ripped up mid construction, and they're going to say it's another $20,000 if you want to do this material instead of this material. And you can say, well, then you always refer back to the original contract. So having it as clear as day, even if you don't have it all figured out, even if you haven't selected everything, at least have an allowance for everything and specifying. Because you could, if you have an allowance, which is basically them saying you have an allowance of $6 a square foot for tile, then if you're mid construction and you say, oh, I want to change, I want to do something different, at least you have this allocated amount towards what you can change out. So if you don't have an exact material specification, at least ask for an allowance to be included so that
Mm,
you can kind of
interesting.
figure it out down the road. And this would apply more so to like light fixtures, decorative light fixtures, or sometimes appliances, or it can even be things like baseboards. A good one is paint. So having them give you an allowance of paint, because we don't want them to just say we're going to paint the walls and the ceilings and the baseboard. Okay, great. And then they're going to show up with some really toxic paint, and you're going to say what happened here. So having them include an allowance for the paint, and they may say something like $40 a gallon. Okay, well, be mindful that non-toxic paint is usually about 65 a gallon. So at least it's very clear of what the expectation is. So to answer the question of what my ideal breakdown would be, it would be pages and pages long of what is included and what is excluded. That's an important thing too. So not only just breaking it down, but ask that contractor, what's not included here? What's not a part of this bid? And that's going to be giving you a lot of insight overall in the budget as well.
So many questions. So, what happens? So, I have a lot of customers and clients who they get into a project and then all of a sudden they use something and the client's sick. That it didn't agree with someone in the family. Maybe they had asthma, maybe they had a chemical sensitivity, a reaction, migraines, and they want to change up something. Are What types of products are you recommending? Obviously, we're recommending healthier products, but let's talk about where people go to get those, and what you think when you're working with people and trying to create a healthy home and keep it low toxicity. So, where do you recommend people get their products?
Hmm. Well, I'm sure many know about Green Building Supply. They're great building supplier. They're great for things like non-toxic caulks and sealants and um, different finishes and sometimes urethane type finishes. So they have a lot of great products there. And also looking for like high performing materials, because there's a big caveat to building a healthy home. Not everything that is non toxic is high performing. So I really encourage homeowners to prioritize and kind of have a hierarchy of their overall vision. What is priority number one? Is it avoiding water damage and mold? Well, also understanding that that would make maybe number two non toxic building materials, because not always the case, but we can't always have both. And a good example of that would be like a caulking or a silicone around the bathtub or that goes around the base of the toilet. There's some really good ones that are zero VOC, but be mindful that you're likely going to be cutting that out and replacing it every couple of years
Mhm.
because it will degrade faster. Now, if the goal is to have high performance, then you may be using something that has some VOCs, but you're going to caulk that area and it's going to last for 10 years. So there is a bit of a trade-off in not everything, but in some areas. And so looking at building suppliers like Green Building Supply is a great one. A high performance building material supplier would be like a 475. They have a lot of great high performing building materials, especially when building the exterior envelope. So there's always a trade off. We cannot have it all. And so that's why
Mhm.
this list of what your priorities in building or renovating your home is really important, because you might find that water damage and mold mitigation may be number one, and then maybe down here, number four or five is EMF mitigation. So
Right. I
trying
love that.
to
I love that.
have a focus, or maybe a singular focus when making decisions.
And each occupant's going to have their own needs, right? Like it's like when I go in and look at somebody's home, some people have asthma and they're worried about that. Some people might have mold exposures and they're worried about mold and mycotoxins. So making sure that your needs, I love that, making sure your needs are met, and your individual needs are, I guess, spelled out to the contractor.
Yeah. Yeah, because if
Right.
you just go to a contractor and say, "I would like you to build me a healthy home," he'll say, "Oh, no problem. I'll get right on that." And, it's going to be his vision. So, yeah, spelling it out for them very clearly.
What other areas in the home are, because bathrooms to me have always been a problem area. I mean, kitchens as well, I'm assuming. What other areas do you see that are really kind of hard to navigate or harder to navigate for the client?
It's so individual. Just as you probably talk a lot about the health of their bodies as they're navigating maybe mold illness, just as much as, nutrition and being healthy is individual, our homes are individual. So just because a contractor built your best friend's home and it turned out wonderful doesn't mean that your home in maybe a different climate zone is going to have the same outcome. So really every detail needs to be individual to your home. But when it comes to building a healthy home, it's so much more than just material selections. You could have the best home that is healthy, and you move in and you could have a leak 1 week later. It could happen. You
Oh, it
have,
happens all the
it
time.
happens. So it's great to have this
Mm.
focus on building it and having a quality home. But really, I encourage everyone to look at long-term maintenance and safeguards. That's where the magic really happens. So things that like that would be having leak detectors under appliances, really having a whole home leak detecting device. I think that should be a part of the building code. So far,
Yes,
nobody else
yes.
agrees with me, but we have building codes are another thing, but having something like a whole home leak detecting device installed day one, it is going to possibly save you thousands of dollars
Mm,
and really mitigate water damage issues. Again, there's some leak detectors that can detect up to 1 drop per minute of a leak. So just having something like
amazing.
that in place is a really great safeguard. But also, what is the maintenance plan of the home? So how easy is this home for you to maintain? So I'm a big fan of having access doors or access panels everywhere.
I love that.
Anywhere that there is a plumbing location, there should be an access door. And I'm especially concerned about these second level laundry rooms, second level bathrooms, anything that is on a second level, there should be at least a 12 by 12 access door to where you don't have to just think, I wonder if that toilet is leaking. I don't know. Something might be going on there. Or I wonder if that shower drain, whatever it is, put in an access door during construction. It doesn't have to be anything hideous and obnoxious. They have what they call mud in or drywall inlay access doors. So it just looks like a piece of drywall. But this allows you to have access to any of those plumbing fixtures. And I recommend having them anywhere that there is a drain line connection. So your shower drain, bathtub drain, things like that.
We often go in, and that's the biggest problem. We have to end up cutting a hole to see what's going on because somebody's got a mold problem that's shown up on an air sample and we don't know where it's coming from and it's not obvious. And half the time you take down the drywall and there's a problem and you've never, you couldn't see it from the
Yeah.
exterior. The drywall looks perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But in there, it's a mess. There was something else you brought up too. We were talking about, I love that. In my garage, I have plumbing that goes out to an outside shower. So I
Hmm.
wanted to be able to access it. So I did a flush mount. There's like it almost looks like a flush mounted, it's metal and it just fits right up in there. And it's a access panel and you can just open it
Yeah.
up and look in it. You don't see it.
Right. And you could even put like a little battery operated leak detector in there and close it up, put it in there and close it up. And just
Awesome.
being able to maintain your home, it is the underlying theme of building a healthy home. If you build a healthy home but you can't access any of it, maintain it, and it's not going
I
to
love that.
last very long, right? We we should also be building the size of home that we could effectively maintain, right? How
Oh,
many
I
people
love
have,
that.
how many of these celebrity stories now have these 10,000, 20,000 square foot homes, and they're having mold issues because it's just impossible to maintain that type
Monitor,
of
yeah,
home.
or
Yeah.
even monitor it. And, like, in
Yeah.
my house, for example, and I give this story because I'm, like, a professional in the industry. I had someone go up, I was installing new doors, right? I was doing new sliders in my home on the backside of the house, and I was spending quite a bit of money to do this, and I wanted to make sure the roof above it was in good condition. So I
Mhm.
hired a roofing contractor to come out and just take a look. He goes up there, he says, "Oh, yeah, everything's fine. No worries, Miss Blazovsky, it's perfectly good." I should have double checked them, right? I didn't go up there myself. I looked in the attic and you couldn't see anything. Trusted him, put in all my doors. And then the first big storm we had, one of these big, massive rainstorms that came through, I had leaking down my brand new doors. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, what is going on? Send somebody back up there. And all of it was delaminating from the interior. He missed it.
Yeah.
So it just show, even professionals, this happens to us, and that's why I say it because we're not infallible. Like things happen. So I'm going to
Mhm.
go to a fast round right now because I'm looking at our time, and I want to ask you some questions so people can know you and how you've operated in your home.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff. So, what is your favorite room in your house?
So we actually just renovated. We're in the tail end of our own personal renovation of a 1960s home, and we took it down to the studs to really have eyeballs on everything and see if there were any issues. And so putting it back together, my favorite room is probably, gosh, all of them, but our laundry room. I really love our laundry room because we've actually installed a trench drain pan for the washing machine. So the pan itself connects to a drain line. So if that washing machine ever overflows, it's not going to damage my laundry room. All the water is going to go out and down to the drain. We have access doors in the ceiling of it to see what's going on the second level plumbing. We have ventilation, we have a window, we have a laundry chute. We kind of
I
kind of got it
love
all.
it.
So it is my favorite room probably.
I
But I
love that
don't
because
I don't
all the speakers we interviewed, you're the first one to say laundry, and I love the reasons you did it. It's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So I'm really excited not to do the laundry, but to just kind of go in there and enjoy it.
So, what's your favorite activity to do in your home? So when you're just hanging out with your family, what do you like to do?
I really like to be in the kitchen. I just feel like it's kind of the heart of the home, and I have young kids, so they're constantly asking for snacks and things. So I feel like I'm just in the kitchen a lot. But yeah, just kind of being in our home, and I was really intentional about the lighting that we brought into our home, and just making sure it was really calming and soothing, and not these bright blue LEDs everywhere. So just having yeah, calm lighting in the kitchen is one of my favorite spaces to just kind of relax.
And we had a couple different speakers at the conference already that we're interviewing, that are talking about the importance of light and how two-thirds of our cellular activity actually run on light, and we just
Yeah.
don't have enough of it.
So yeah, going back to the idea of what's happened over time with building codes. Building codes are so focused on energy efficiency, they're not really taking into consideration how all that LED lighting that's mandated is playing a role on our health inside of our home.
and as well as EMF. Let's talk about building code really quickly because we did have a lot of people mention that building code is not what people think it is. We are not
Mm.
protected as consumers in our homes at all. So just kind of give your opinion about that and touch on that a little bit.
Mm, building codes, they're a minimum. That is the minimum building standard is building codes, and they've come a long way in the way of structural integrity and energy efficiency, uh, but not much else, in my opinion. So they've done a good job at that, but in some ways sacrificing our health, especially with LED lighting and putting smart meters on the electrical panels, and nobody's concerned at all when they come out to do a inspection if the electrical panel is adjacent to a headboard in the room. So nobody's batting an eye at that. So I'm a really big fan of, as a homeowner, having your own third party inspection. This is like a home inspector who's going to take photos and really be your advocate if anything is off, if there's any red flags. Because your city or county inspector coming in, they're signing that permit card and they're on their way. But having a home inspector that you're retaining is going to document everything that they're seeing, and also really give you those eyeballs in areas, maybe you're not climbing up in the attic and on the roof, but having somebody as your advocate who then you can have proof and documentation to bring to your contractor saying, I had a third party inspection and these are the things that came up on the list. You need to correct these.
Mm, I love it. Um, Third question. What is something in your home that you know environmentally or from a healthy home perspective you have to improve? You've done a lot.
Hmm.
So as an expert, what's something you think you're thinking about for the future?
Areas that we need to improve on, because we did take this older home down to the studs on the interior to really see and assess if there was any water damage or active issues happening. Thankfully, we didn't find any, but still, phase two, we need to work on the exterior. So um, having roof overhangs are great, but still, I think that every window or door on the exterior should have an awning or covering to really just help it from getting pummeled with water
Protect.
and
Yes, protect.
protect it. I mean, windows are not leak proof, but protecting it. So I really want to focus on having some sort of covering for all of our windows and doors on the exterior. And in a perfect world, if you're doing a new construction home, maybe consider having a wraparound patio, covered patio on all four sides of your home. And just then you don't have to worry or be concerned about water infiltration in one of the most vulnerable parts of your home, which are the windows. So phase two, I need to work on the exterior of my home.
And even so, I have when we redid our home, we put quite large overhangs and then we did quite large gutters because we increased the capacity because of the water intrusion that we're getting. And even so, it amazes me, even with my overhangs, I'm getting so much water infiltration hitting those sliders because it's just the wind velocity, the rain velocity
Hmm.
now because of climate change. I mean, that house is still taking a beating and I couldn't believe it. So
Yeah.
we have to think about the climate and what is being thrown at us and definitely increasing everything, whether it's our roof capacity and how waterproof it is, our waterproofing and our I mean just everything. I mean, I just think about all the things that I've done to make sure that water just sort of moves away from the property.
Yeah.
So, what is something that our homeowners can do right away that doesn't cost a lot of money, but they saw your talk and they said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by Christine. She's amazing. I want to start making my home healthier immediately." What can they do pronto that's not going to cost a lot but make a big difference?
Make sure that there's no active leaks. Something that wouldn't cost a lot would be having these little battery operated leak detectors. As much as we love to do it, under our sinks should not be a storage zone.
Mm,
Clear that out, because you won't be able to see a slow leak in the drain line or plumbing line. So if we can clear out under our kitchen and bathroom sinks, have a little mat underneath with a little battery operated leak detector, and then it's just clear. And then you can maintain it, you can access it. Something that would cost a little bit of money and need to have a plumber would be having a whole home leak detecting device. If you can, save up and do something like that, maybe as a goal for the end of the year, will give you the peace of mind. They're really wonderful. They will automatically shut off if there is a leak. So it's a really nice safeguard to have in your home.
I love that. That is such a good advice. Like perfect. Clear out all of that stuff, and we're all guilty of it. Even mine, where I try to keep it clean, and then I look in there. I'm like, where
Yes.
did that come from? There's more stuff in there.
Yes.
Where do you think people can get the most information, science-based information, because we're all about science on the show, um, about contracting? So, what's your preferred choice if people want to start researching how to start this process?
Oh, there's not really a ton of science-based information about that, about how to talk to your contractor. Um, Experience, homeowners getting educated. I would really start looking at just other people who have done what you're looking to do, other people who have experienced renovating or building a new home. Facebook groups,
Mhm.
Google,
Yep.
forums, any of those things, and ask questions. Start. That's the best way, is to talk with other homeowners, or really start to build your community or your team before you even dive into this design process. What works? What didn't work? What's a good roof overhang? What are good window details? Like, just talking to other people in similar situations will give you some good insight on what to do, and mostly what not to do, and red flags to look for.
The experts have made the mistakes. A lot of us are in this business because we had to go through it ourselves, right? We had to
Mhm.
create something that didn't exist. And so hence
Yeah.
why we're bringing together this network of people for the Healthy Home Summit, because we all have done it. So learn from the mistakes so you don't have to repeat them.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So where can people find out about you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they reach out for your services? Who do you service? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. I try to just stay in my lane. Otherwise, there's so much information that we're sharing on there. So at Holistic Homes by Christine, that's where I'm at on Instagram. We are always having courses and communities and small mastermind groups to really talk specifics about your home. We do also have a podcast, the Holistic Homes podcast. So we are just trying to get more long form content out there, because how much can I really share in that 60-second clip that Instagram gives me?
Trips you
Um,
out.
so starting there is a great way, and we're always doing classes and master classes to really help you in this journey. I'm a licensed contractor here in California, but the meat and potatoes of our business to really service more people is construction consulting for everyone all across the US. It's all virtual, and we can meet with your contractor. It's the most successful when you can get myself, your contractor, and you on a call together, and we really collaborate and talk through those details, because contractor to contractor is really effective in having your vision uh, sought through all the way to the end.
And I mean, not to pinpoint you into economic any numbers, but like
Yeah.
what does it take to hire someone to have a conversation? Like what would you say the ballpark is to have a conversation with
Yeah.
your contractor?
It's really gonna depend. I have some clients that have done a ton of research, and they just want to fine tune things and maybe communicate to your contractor. We could do that in an hour call, for a couple $100, definitely less than a
Yeah.
$1,000. Or I have other clients that are like, I'm lost. I really just need you to hold my hand all the way through it. And we do that. And maybe they have a ton of questions. And then that way I'm there alongside them, where they can ask me questions daily as their contractor, saying, I need an answer yesterday. What do you want for this? So it's going to really depend, but especially the scope of work, right? Are you doing a complete new build? Or are we going to be just diving deep into your bathroom renovation for an hour? So I try to make myself available for different needs because I know everyone's at a different stage in their project, and so that's why virtual consulting is really a successful way to add
Mm.
another member to your team. So it's not just myself. You should probably also have a home inspector on your team. You should have a construction consultant, your contractor, your designer, your architect. So it's really a collaborative effort because that's the most successful way to have a healthy project.
Well, you are amazing, and I love what you're doing, and I think that we are so grateful that you chose to join us, and I think it's
Yeah.
just gonna get bigger and bigger for you. So thank you so much, and we look forward to all the projects you do in the future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.